Oh, hi, Internet. It appears that everyone's lost their damn mind again.
Well, you're one to talk, Laci, seeing as you've lost your mind on several different occasions.
You probably heard about HB2 in North Carolina, which requires that people use the bathroom that corresponds with their biological sex.
Oh, the horror. People actually have to go to the bathroom, which corresponds with their biological gender. Oh, the oppression.
And then PayPal was like, see ya, North Carolina, you suck.
Quite interesting you mentioned PayPal, Laci. You know, the same company who does business in Saudi Arabia where homosexuality is illegal with penalties as severe as death. It's interesting you social justice warriors don't ever seem to really do your research very well and always leave out those important little details. PayPal's a bunch of hypocrites.
Bruce Springsteen, Demi Lovato, a bunch of artists are like, yeah, sorry, no music for you. And Target joins the party and they're like, we support trans people, equality in our bathroom.
Yet again, Laci, you prove just how lacking you are in the research department because just a month beforehand, Bruce Springsteen did a performance in Egypt, where homosexuals are put in jail. Yet another case how social injustice warriors like Bruce and yourself are nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites. And it would be quite nice if Christians were afforded the same right to act on their beliefs as well. But you social injustice warriors don't give a crap about that, but only you protect the victim classes.
Also buy stuff. And 8 quadrillion people signed a boycott against Target for letting boys in the girls' bathroom. Think of the children.
Yes, Laci, think of the children, and as well as the women who you claim as a feminist to fight for rights and protections for. And it seems you're so consumed with your social injustice warrior agenda that clearly just goes right over your head, and then you cap it off with this arrogant and condescending tone of yours. And this is the reason why less and less people are taking social injustice, politically correct warriors like yourself seriously.
And then the Department of Justice was like, we are thinking about the children and that's why we're suing you, North Carolina. Title 7, Title 9, heard of it?
And this is yet another tactic social injustice warriors like yourself, Laci, like to employ. You like to take certain laws and grossly distort them out of context. Title 7 nor Title 9 states that if you're a biological male, you should be able to go into a women's restroom or locker room. And this is the reason why there have been mounting incidents of this happening by creeps who want to take advantage of the laws that you want to get behind. And it's very obvious and clear to me, Laci, that you aren't as pro-women as you like to think you sound.
And then, y'all, that Duck Dynasty guy who, won't go away jumps in and says, I have a radical idea.
Yes, Laci, an idea so radical, teenage girls had a protest about it at a school. Okay, and if anyone wants to read about it, the link is in the description. Once again, you don't care about women.
That bathroom is for men only.
You notice people how she's not actually making any points and she's just going back to social injustice warrior slogans and buzzwords and platitudes. That's really all she's doing. I have no idea why anybody takes this lady seriously.
And the trans advocates are like, yeah, bruh, trans men are men.
This is really embarrassing for you, Laci, as you've done videos in the past about abortion, and you were talking about things like stay out of your vagina as if you truly believe your vagina defines you as a woman, and it's obvious you think it does. So, which is it? Does a genitalia define a man or a woman, or simply identifying as such define one as a man or woman? You need to make up your mind.
And, well, basically everything's a mess. If aliens were watching us, they'd probably be so confused right now.
Wow, now they're arguing about which one you consider humans, am I right?
I actually agree with you here, Laci, and I don't see why we're arguing about this whole thing, but then again, it was you social injustice warriors who started this whole nonsense by taking things which aren't issues of oppression and exploiting them way out of proportion for your selfish agendas.
On its surface, the bathroom debate is an idiotic argument to have. Fact, trans people have been using the stall next to us since, forever.
You see, Laci, you social injustice warriors keep attacking the straw man that we're making this about transgender people. This is not even close to what this issue is about, but I'll expand on this more in just a second.
The laws are there as a form of protection. This does not mean that bathrooms are a free-for-all. No, men can't just waltz into the women's bathroom. That's still against the law.
Okay, Lacey, we already know it's against the law, and that's not the point. The point is social injustice warriors like you who are getting behind this law allows perverts to exploit a loophole in the law and makes the law much harder to enforce. That's the point.
So, America, what's this really about? We are witnessing a truly fascinating modern debate about gender. And gender has been on America's mind. Bathrooms are forcing Americans to ask themselves, who belongs in a box literally marked women? Who belongs in a room labeled men? And that is an anxiety-inducing question for a lot of people, right? Because gender is a big part of how we see ourselves. It's a big part of how we see the world.
Goodness, Lacey, I don't even know where to begin with all the nonsense you just said, but what was really striking to me is when the bit came up about men's and women's restrooms, how you put your fingers up in quotes when you said women as if to imply no rock-solid definition exists on what a woman is. You're the same person who gets behind abortion as a women's right issue, so will you put your fingers up in quotes about abortion as a quote-unquote women's rights issue too? You're a raving hypocrite, Lacey.
There are basically two ways that people are thinking about gender. In Camp 1, gender is the same as sex. Vagina equals woman, and penis equals man. Done. In Camp 2, gender is different than sex. Gender is about how an individual understands themselves and how they move through society. It's about identity, not genitals. So, what's the truth? Well, at least in academia, amongst public health and medical experts, it's widely accepted that gender and sex are two different things. Reduced to its most simple parts, gender is socially and culturally informed, whereas sex is biologically informed. But that doesn't mean that Camp 1 is entirely wrong. The fact that gender and sex are referring to two different things doesn't mean they're completely unrelated.
Except for the fact, Lacey, that you conveniently failed to point out the only people making the argument that gender is a social construct is people in your camp, the social injustice politically incorrect side. It is not people on the opposing side of the argument making that case that gender doesn't truly exist. So basically, you're literally arguing that gender and sex are absolutely not related in any context whatsoever.
The way that we are socialized in the world is based on our sex. There are privileges that you can reap because of your sex. There are prejudices that people face because of their sex. I mean, yeah, this stuff is a little confusing. There are like entire libraries of books written about it, right?
It's not the fact that this whole thing is confusing, but the fact that social injustice warriors like you like to blur the lines between who are men and who are women to make it confusing. And did you not just say people are prejudiced on their sex? But my question to you is, prejudiced to whom? If biology, which is what sex is, does not determine who you are, then who is being prejudiced here? You gotta make up your mind. Does sex or gender determine who you are, Lacey?
What this means is that for some people who are in the bathroom police camp right now, it's just a matter of education. A little myth busting, you know how it goes.
The irony here is just laughable, Lacey, that you have the nerve to talk about myth busting and education when in this video alone you made multiple errors, not understanding the correct context of Title VII and Title IX, and not even doing your research on the people you claim are pro-transgender rights. What you need to do, Lacey, is get off this elitist pedestal of yours, do your research before you keep making yourself sound more and more foolish.
But for others in the bathroom police camp, we're up against something a little bit trickier. Prejudice. Prejudice is fear. Fear is a hell of a drug, y'all. Potent as fuck.
This here is a common card that social injustice warriors like Lacey like to pull out. They like to say that if you don't agree with their opinion, then you must be some bigoted, prejudiced, hateful person. And less people are buying their politically correct BS, and their cards are being accepted in less and less places. Your cards are being declined, Lacey. Try something else.
So what's the big picture here? Some Americans are feeling threatened by the pace of social change that's happening in America. They're called conservatives because they want to conserve what is.
This even more so explains the depths of your ignorance, Lacey, that you would attack the straw man that this is about a conservative issue. This literally has nothing to do with conservatism, and I made that quite clear in this post already. And the fact that you would go to those lengths to attack such a straw man shows how desperate your argument really is.
They generally oppose change, and they don't want the government touching anything, whether it's their free markets or social issues.
You know, Lacey, if you had an inkling of a clue, then you would know it's not about their free market, but it's your free market too. The same free market that allows you to have millions of subscribers and views and make a lot of money on YouTube videos to talk crap about the same system that allows you to do it. The ignorance here is beyond excuse, Lacey. It's embarrassing.
And yet, in relatively quick succession, we have had the election of the first black president, same-sex marriage legalized, government health reform. America's status quo is freaking out.
It's interesting you bring that up, Lacey, because the people who are freaking out are you social injustice warrior groups who are even going against your own people, like Christina Hoff Summers, who was a lifelong Democrat and also a feminist, and even she sees the people in today's politically correct movement, particularly the third wave feminism movement, as madness, as she herself says it is.
There is an organized backlash that is growing under the banners of Fox News, the White Nationalist Party, the Tea Party, the pro-life movement, the GOP, including a potential president, Donald Trump.
My goodness, Lacey, you just keep piling ignorance on top of more ignorance, because as I just said, even Democrats like Christina Hoff Summers is mounting a backlash against your politically incorrect nonsense. So for you to attack the straw man, this is about a Republican issue, is intellectually dishonest.
Would you recognize it if you were to live through a second civil rights movement? What would that look like in the 21st century? Take a look around, fam. This is about way more than bathrooms.
Oh, but Lacey, this issue is not about bathrooms, and it never was, in fact, about bathrooms. What this issue is about social injustice warriors like yourself who want to impose extremist views upon society and try to silence any dissent in the process. But it's people on all sides, left and right, who are seeing through your BS, and we ain't gonna take your nonsense anymore. We ain't gonna buy your intellectually dishonest crap anymore. You're gonna have to try a lot harder.